Welcome to our Mr. Hilarious channel. Get ready to feel the thrill with scary stories and mysteries that will get your heart racing. Don't forget to subscribe for more horror stories. In a small village in Norway, winter is not just about the beauty of white snow covering the ground. For a long time, the villagers have kept a dark story about the sound of footsteps heard every night when the first snow falls. The sound was heavy and rhythmic, as if someone was walking on thick snow. But strangely, no footprints were ever found the next day. This phenomenon is considered part of a local legend passed down from generation to generation, although no one really knows what caused it. Martha, a young woman who lived at the end of the village, was the next witness to this horror. Every night she heard the sound of steps coming closer and closer to her house. Her fear peaked when one night she saw a dark figure standing in the snow from behind a window. The figure was like a shadow with no real form, no face, just a black silhouette that sent a chill down her spine. Although Martha tried to ignore the incident, the sound of the steps disturbed her nights more and more, as if signaling that something was about to happen. The peak of terror came when the sound of steps was no longer outside. The heavy voice could be heard entering her house, even though the doors and windows were locked. Martha tried to escape, but everything seemed impossible. The windows were frozen, the doors were tightly shut, and an unusually cold air filled her house. Suspicious neighbors found Martha's house empty the next day. All that remained was a single footprint leading into the forest, a trail that disappeared without a trace, as if swallowed by snow. The story reminds the villagers of the mysterious dangers that surround their winters. To this day, no one knows what happened to Martha or who the dark figure is that haunts those snowy nights. Some believe that it is a forest guardian spirit, while others call it a curse from the village's past. However, one thing is certain: when the first snow falls, no one dares to go out after dark. On a cold Christmas Eve in a small village in Canada, a family built a large snowman in their front yard. It was carefully decorated in an old black hat, a carrot for a nose, and charcoal for eyes and mouth. The children happily named the doll Frost. They laughed together, not realizing that that night would be the most memorable night of their lives. When a snowstorm arrived later that night, the atmosphere turned tense. The power in their house went out, and darkness fell over the village. The father decided to go out to check the generator outside, but he never returned. Worry peaked when Mom went out looking for him. However, all she found was a black snowman's hat lying by the door, partially buried by snow. There was no other trace, just a piercing silence in the middle of the storm. Throughout the night, the family heard a strange sound like something heavy being dragged slowly across the snow. The sound grew closer, as if surrounding the house. The children, frightened, peered through the windows and saw something that left them speechless. When morning came, Frost's snowman now stood much closer to the house, bigger than before. The charcoal in his mouth seemed to form a broad smile, with faint red stains around his mouth. The children swear they saw Frost move. To this day, the house sits abandoned, a part of the creepy tales that circulate in the village. Locals believe that the Christmas Eve snowstorm brought evil spirits that possessed the snowman. They no longer build large snowmen in their yards, afraid of waking something that shouldn't be alive. And Frost? Some claim to see him standing in a different spot every winter, waiting for his next prey. A group of friends decided to celebrate their winter vacation in an old chalet located in the Alps. The chalet looks majestic, but there's a strange atmosphere surrounding the place. The locals warn them about the chalet's dark tale. Once, its owner mysteriously disappeared during a snowstorm years ago. But the warnings didn't faze them. They think it's just a legend to scare the tourists away. On the first night, the atmosphere turns tense when Sophia, one of them, hears the soft strains of a piano from downstairs. Curious, she went downstairs to check it out. In the dimly lit living room, she saw a woman dressed in a 19th century winter dress playing an old piano. Her blue fingers were frozen on the keys, yet the melody continued to play. As Sophia approached, the woman stopped playing, looking at Sophia with a cold, piercing smile before disappearing into the shadows. Sophia returned to her room trembling, but no one believed her story. The next day, a massive snowstorm hits, and one by one their friends begin to disappear without a trace. When Sophia realizes she is the only one left, she finds an old diary hidden in the chalet. The book reveals the chalet's dark secret. A woman was once cursed there, forced to collect the souls of those who dared to stay in the chalet during the blizzard. Every page of the book is filled with names, including that of her best friend, who has recently disappeared. On her last night, Sophia hears the piano again, louder this time, as if calling her name. Despite trying to fight her fears, the sound continues to surround her, filling every corner of the chalet until morning. When dawn breaks, the chalet is empty, with no trace of Sophia or her friends. The villagers said the storm had taken them as it had all those years ago. And the old piano in the chalet? It is said that its strains are still heard every time a storm comes, carrying the message that the curse is not over.